I shouldn't have noticed her dress. That's the first thing I keep telling myself. But there she was, standing in the doorway of her kitchen, sunlight slipping through the curtains and tracing along the curves of fabric like it had been placed there on purpose. I come over to fix a cabinet for my best friend's mom. Nothing more. A simple errand. But the moment she opened the door, smiling a little too long, I forgot why I was even holding a toolbox. "Thanks for coming over," she said, her voice low, softer than usual. "I didn't wear this just for anyone." I laughed. Too quickly, too nervously, pretending I thought she was joking. My hands tightened on the handle of the box, knuckles whitening. She didn't laugh back. The house smelled faintly of coffee and something floral. A silence pressed down as I set the tools on the counter. I could feel her watching me, and every movement. Unscrewing a hinge, brushing dust off the wood, felt suddenly loaded. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed loosely, not in a guarded way but like she wanted me to see her. I tried focusing on the screws, but my throat was dry. "You always this serious?" she asked. I almost said yes, but the words caught. "Only when the stakes are high." Her eyebrow arched, and I swear there was the faintest curve at the corner of her lips. For a while, the only sound was the faint squeak of metal and the hum of the refrigerator. She stepped closer, so close that the warmth of her body brushed the air around me. "You're good with your hands," she said softly. My screwdriver slipped, clattering onto the counter. I froze, staring at it like the sound hadn't just made the room feel 10 times smaller. She didn't move away. I forced a laugh. "Guess I still need practice." Her hand rested on the edge of the counter, just inches from mine. She wasn't looking at the cabinet anymore. She was looking at me, and for the first time I couldn't look away. Something unspoken hung between us, a weight neither of us acknowledged. I told myself to focus on the work, on anything else, but the truth was, I didn't want to. The dress she'd teased about earlier? I finally believed her. She hadn't worn it for just anyone. She took a small breath, lips parting as if she were about to say something. Then she stopped, biting it back. The pause felt like the longest silence of my life. I wanted to ask what she meant, what she wasn't saying. But before I could, her fingers brushed against mine. Light, accidental maybe, or maybe not. The touch sent a rush through me that I tried hard to disguise, clearing my throat and picking up the screwdriver again. But I knew I wouldn't remember a single thing about fixing that cabinet. She tilted her head slightly, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. "Not yet." And then she said, barely above a whisper, "Careful. You don't know what you're getting into." I pretended to focus on the hinge, but my mind was nowhere near the cabinet. Her words still echoed. "You don't know what you're getting into." The truth was I did. Or at least I thought I did. She wasn't just anyone's mom. She was my best friend's. That fact alone should have been a brick wall between us. And yet, standing there with the sunlight on her skin, I felt like the wall had already cracked. "Almost done?" I muttered, though my hand had started to shake enough that the screw slipped again. She stepped closer, close enough that the faint scent of her perfume brushed over me. Something floral, maybe jasmine. Not the kind of perfume you wear for errands around the house. "You don't have to rush," she said. Her voice was steady, but her fingers tapped lightly against the counter, like she was holding back something. I glanced up at her, just for a second too long. She noticed. "You always this nervous around me?" she asked, her tone somewhere between teasing and curious. "I'm not nervous," I lied. Her eyes softened, but she didn't call me out. Instead, she looked away, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. For the first time, I caught something fragile in her expression, like she wasn't as untouchable as I thought. "You know," she said quietly, "I don't really have people over. It's been a while." The way her voice dipped at the end made my chest tighten. I wanted to ask what she meant. If she was lonely, if she was talking about someone who'd left. but the words stayed stuck in my throat. Instead, I watched the way her fingers lingered on the edge of the counter, her nails tracing little half-moons against the wood. It was the kind of detail you only notice when you're looking too hard. Cleared my throat. Well, I'm here now. Her eyes met mine again, and this time she didn't look away. The silence between us stretched, heavy but not uncomfortable. Then she smiled faintly. Maybe that's why I wore this dress. My chest tightened so hard I nearly dropped the screwdriver again. I tried to laugh it off, but nothing came out. For a moment, neither of us moved. The cabinet door hung crooked, unfinished, but I couldn't care less. Finally, she shifted closer, her shoulder brushing mine. Not an accident. I knew it, and she knew I knew. Her hand hovered near my arm before finally resting there, light as a question. You don't have to go right after this, do you? She asked, voice low. The words hit harder than they should have. I swallowed, my throat dry. No, I guess I don't. The screwdriver slipped from my hand, landing with a dull thud on the counter. Neither of us picked it up. I told myself to focus, to keep some distance. But her hand still rested lightly on my arm, and I couldn't move. Coffee? She asked suddenly, like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. Sure, I said, though my voice was lower than I meant. She moved to the counter, and I sat back on the stool, trying to breathe. I watched her without meaning to. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the way the dress curved around her waist when she reached for the mugs. Every small detail carved itself into my head. You take sugar? She asked. Doesn't matter, I muttered. My palms were sweating. I wiped them against my jeans, hoping she didn't notice. She slid a cup toward me and leaned on the counter across from me, her eyes holding mine a little too long. I'm glad you came, she said softly. It's been different lately, quieter. There was a shadow in her expression. Not sadness exactly, more like something she'd been holding back for too long. I wanted to ask, but I didn't. Instead, I nodded because words felt too dangerous. Before I could take a sip, her phone buzzed against the counter. She glanced at it, lips pressing into a thin line. She didn't answer. Not important? I asked. She gave a small, almost bitter smile. If it were, I'd answer. Then she pushed the phone face down and looked at me again. That simple move made my chest tighten. Whoever it was, they weren't more important than this moment. I set the mug down. You okay? Her eyes flickered, like I'd crossed some line. But she didn't push me away. Instead, she leaned a little closer. Depends what you mean by okay. I swallowed hard, every nerve in me screaming to step back, to remember who she was. But I couldn't. She reached out, brushing a bit of dust from my shirt. Her fingers lingered for a second too long. The silence was so thick I could hear my heartbeat. And then a sharp knock at the door. We both froze. Her hand slipped back quickly, and she looked at me with wide eyes, like we'd just been caught. Even though nothing had happened. Not yet. The knock came again. Louder. She stood quickly, smoothing her dress. Stay here, she whispered, almost like a plea. Then she walked toward the door. I sat frozen, palms damp, the taste of coffee still untouched on my lips. From the doorway, I heard her voice. Calm, polite, but different. Not the voice she'd used with me. The conversation was short. When she returned, she closed the door gently, exhaling as though she'd been holding her breath. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time all afternoon, she didn't look away. Where were we? She asked softly. Her words hung in the air. Where were we? I swallowed, trying to play it off, but my chest was tight. I think the cabinet's still crooked. She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that said she knew exactly what I was doing. That's not what I meant. I froze, screwdriver still in my hand. My first instinct was to laugh it off, to pretend she hadn't said it that way. But I couldn't. Not when her eyes stayed on mine, unblinking, waiting. I shouldn't be here, I muttered, finally saying what had been clawing at me since I walked in. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her fingers grip the counter edge, like she was steadying herself. And yet you are. The silence that followed was unbearable. I forced myself to look away, to focus on the half-fixed cabinet, but my hand wasn't steady anymore. The screw missed the hole completely. You're making a mess of it, she said softly. Maybe I don't care about the cabinet, I blurted before I could stop myself. The words slipped out raw, dangerous. Her breath caught, just a little, and for a second I thought I'd gone too far. She set her coffee down slowly, deliberately. Do you have any idea how complicated this is? I met her eyes again, and for the first time I didn't look away. I think I do. Her lips parted, like she wanted to argue, but no sound came. Instead, she stepped closer. My pulse hammered as the warmth of her body closed the space between us. She reached up, fingers brushing a bit of sawdust from my shoulder. A pointless gesture. She'd already done it earlier, but her hand lingered there, trembling almost imperceptibly. You don't know me, she whispered. I swallowed hard. I know enough. Her laugh was quiet, humorless. No, you only see what you want to. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that I'd noticed everything. The way she avoided phone calls, the way her eyes carried something heavy, the way she'd said she didn't have people over, but the words tangled in my throat. Instead, I whispered, then let me see the rest. That broke something in her. She looked away sharply, blinking fast, as if she hadn't expected me to push back. For a long, unbearable moment, neither of us spoke. The refrigerator hummed. The house felt too small. Finally, she turned back, her voice lower now, almost breaking. Tell me you'll walk away, and I'll believe you. I opened my mouth, but no sound came. The silence between us wasn't empty anymore. It was charged, waiting, holding its breath. And in that silence, she didn't move her hand from my shoulder. Her hand still rested on my shoulder when I finally found my voice. I can't just walk away. The words were barely out when her phone buzzed again, sharp against the counter. She flinched. This time, she didn't ignore it. She picked it up, glanced at the screen, and quickly flipped it face down again. I caught a glimpse of the name. Not a stranger. Her ex-husband. Her shoulders stiffened. She didn't speak right away, just let out a long, shaky breath. He doesn't usually call, she said finally, more to herself than to me. I stayed quiet, but my chest ached watching the way her hand tightened around the phone like it was both anchor and weight. She set it down, her voice low. He used to come through that door like he owned the place. And when he left, she trailed off, shaking her head. When he left, it felt like no one would ever bother knocking again. The confession hung there, raw and unfinished. I wanted to say something, anything, but all I could do was watch the way her eyes glossed as she blinked hard, refusing to let the tears fall. You don't have to tell me, I said gently. Her gaze snapped back to me. Then why are you still here? The question hit me harder than it should have. I opened my mouth, closed it, then finally managed, because I don't want to be anywhere else. For a moment, she looked like she didn't believe me, but then something shifted. Her hand dropped from my shoulder, but instead of stepping back, she pulled out a chair and sat down, motioning for me to do the same. I sat across from her, heart pounding. You remind me of him, she said suddenly. The words stunned me. My chest tightened. Your ex. She shook her head slowly. No, someone else. From before. Someone I shouldn't have let slip away. The way she said it, so soft, so unfinished, left me reeling. I wanted to ask more, to know who she meant, but I couldn't, because deep down I already knew. Her eyes lingered on me a little too long, and in them I saw a mix of memory and fear, like she was afraid of making the same mistake again. I leaned forward, voice low. Then don't let this slip away. Her lips parted, But before she could answer, a key rattled in the front door. She shot up instantly, panic flashing across her face. "Go," she whispered sharply, though her hand brushed mine under the table, quick and desperate. "Through the back." My pulse roared in my ears. I wanted to stay, to tell her I wasn't afraid. But the sound of the lock turning left no room for choice. I stood, our eyes locking one last time. Neither of us spoke. The door clicked open. The sound of the front door opening felt like a gunshot. I slipped toward the back, my heart hammering. But before I reached the screen door, she caught my wrist. Her grip was tight, almost trembling. "Wait," she whispered. I turned back. Her eyes searched mine. Panicked, desperate, and for a second I thought she'd pull me into her arms right there, no matter who was in the next room. But instead, she let go. "Go, please." The plea gutted me more than the command. I nodded, slipped out the back, and didn't stop moving until I hit the street. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. The way she'd looked at me like she was both terrified and begging me not to disappear. By morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I went back. Her house looked the same, but my chest was a storm. I knocked once, twice. For a moment, I thought she wouldn't answer. Then the door opened. She stood there, hair tied back, no makeup, an oversized sweater replacing the dress. But her eyes were the same. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. I couldn't stay away. Her lips pressed together, but she didn't step aside. "If you knew what this could cost—" "I don't care," I said. Too quickly, too honestly. Her laugh was quiet, shaky. "You sound so sure." "I am," I told her. "Last night, you almost told me to stay. You didn't want me to leave." Her hand tightened on the doorframe. "You think this is simple?" "No, but I think it's real." For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then, slowly, she let the door swing wider. I stepped inside, the silence between us louder than any words. She sank onto the couch, pulling the sweater tighter around her. "You scare me," she admitted. The words cut deep. "Why?" Her eyes flickered up to mine. "Because I haven't let myself feel like this in a long time. And if I do now, I don't know if I'll survive losing it again." I crossed the room, sat across from her. My voice was low, but steady. "Then don't lose it." She shook her head, half smiling through glassy eyes. "You make it sound easy." "It's not," I admitted. "But walking away would be harder." Her breath hitched. She leaned forward slightly, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her. Her hand hovered in the air before finally settling over mine. We didn't kiss. We didn't need to. That touch, trembling, hesitant, but unbroken, said everything words couldn't. The silence stretched, but it wasn't empty this time. It was full. Finally, she whispered, "Then don't go." Her hand stayed over mine, warm and trembling, like neither of us wanted to be the first to let go. For a long time, neither of us spoke. It felt like the world outside her living room had gone silent, like even time was waiting to see what we would do. Finally, she drew in a deep breath. "You shouldn't want this. Not with me." I met her eyes. "And yet I do." A soft, almost broken laugh escaped her. "You don't make things easy." "I'm not trying to." Her eyes held mine for what felt like forever. And then, finally, she let out the breath she'd been holding and leaned closer, resting her forehead gently against mine. It wasn't a kiss. Not yet. But it was enough to break down the last of the walls between us. "I don't know where this will go," she admitted quietly. "But I don't want to keep pretending I don't feel it." That was all I needed to hear. We didn't rush. No desperate grabbing, no movie scene kiss. Just two people, flawed, scared, and more honest than we'd been in a long time, sitting close enough to finally stop hiding. Later, after we talked for hours, about her loneliness, about how I'd always noticed more than I let on, I walked home under a sky just starting to lighten with dawn. Everything had changed. Not because of one kiss or some dramatic confession, but because we'd chosen not to keep lying to ourselves. And for the first time in a long time, I felt steady. Looking back, it's strange. A crooked cabinet, a dress she claimed she hadn't worn for just anyone, a few too long silences. All of it led here. She wasn't just my best friend's mom anymore. She was someone who let me see her, really see her, in a way no one else had. And maybe that's what scared us both the most. Because when someone sees you like that, you can't ever go back. So here's what I know now. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't crossing a line. It's realizing you already have and deciding not to turn back. Thought Balloon, did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?